Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. My name is Ali and let's talk about finance. In today's video, we're going to be talking about retirement, but specifically, what is it that you're going to do in retirement? This is a very important topic because a lot of people, when it comes to retirement, they think about how much money they need saved in order to retire. But there's actually another aspect of retirement which is very, very important and a lot of people don't really think about until they actually go to retire. And that's, what is it that they're gonna do? When it comes to retirement, people need to understand that retirement can last 20, 30, even 40 years for some people. When people think about retirement, they always think about, I just don't wanna work. I can't wait until the day that I don't have to work. That's what they think retirement is all about. But there's so much more to it than that. Yes, there is a financial aspect to it, and that's very important to figure out, but there is also a non-financial aspect to it, which is what is it that you're gonna do with your time? When you retire, you're gonna have so much more time on your hands. If you're used to working 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, now think about what you're gonna do with those 40 hours a week, with those 50 hours a week, with those 60 hours a week. Are you gonna sit around and watch TV all day? Probably not. That might be fun for the first few days or the first week, but after that, you might get bored. And I find that a lot of people, when it comes to retirement, it's not what they thought it was going to be. Now, here's a couple of things that are important to think about when you're thinking about retiring, or even if you're early on in retirement. If you have 20, 30, 40 years in retirement, this is another time where you get to have some fun. You get to find another purpose in life. Your purpose before retiring was probably working, your career, maybe even raising a family. But your purpose in retirement is going to be very different. For some people, especially people who are very active, they like to continue to work. They like to feel like they're still part of society. So they might pick up a part-time job, they might start a small business, they might integrate themselves in the working community, but maybe at a lesser level than they were at before. So instead of working full-time, maybe you're working 10 hours a week or 15 hours a week, maybe 20 hours a week. For these people, it allows them to feel fulfilled. And the reason for that is because they still feel like they have a purpose. When they wake up in the morning, they're gonna go and integrate themselves into the world and show their face to the world and really feel like they're a part of something. This is very, very, very important. If you don't feel like there's anything that you're working towards, or you don't feel like you're a part of something, this can really have a negative impact on your mental state. And especially in retirement, if you have a negative mental state, it also affects you physically. When it comes to fulfilling your purpose, this might take a little bit of time to figure out. If you don't want to work part-time, or you don't want to start a small business, that isn't something that you want to do, that's okay. Not everybody wants to do that. There are other aspects that people like to take a look at. Some people like to pick up a hobby, whether that's gardening, whether that's knitting or crocheting, whether that's fixing up vehicles, whether that's building model planes or model trains, or volunteering their time just so that, again, they could feel like they're a part of something. This is something that some people like to do. Now, again, everybody will like different things. So you just have to find what it is that you like to do when it comes to filling up your time. There are also some people that like to take on a mentorship role. Maybe you had a very successful career and you want to mentor the next generation to take a similar path to what you did and talk about your successes along the way. This is another thing that you can do, and a lot of people do like to do that because, again, they like to spread the knowledge that they have and they like to feel like they're a part of something. Besides all of these things, some people do just like to spend time with more friends and family. Keep in mind, it will take time to find your purpose. There are going to be lots of ups and downs when it comes to retirement. It's not just about relaxing. It's not just about having fun. It's about passing your time in a way that not only feels good for you, but you feel fulfilled in your retirement. Another thing to understand as well when it comes to retirement is your retirement is probably going to come in multiple phases. In the first 5 to 10 years of retirement, if you wanted to do a lot of traveling, that might be possible. At the end of the day, that's when you're most healthy. Physically, your body still might be able to handle it. But then after that, what do you do? What happens when your body can't take it anymore? Maybe it takes a little bit longer to recover. Maybe you can't travel as much because your energy levels are not as high. And it's okay. A lot of times people do have different phases. Sometimes the first 10 years is different than the second 10 years, and it's different than the third 10 years. Every single part of retirement is going to be different. Another thing to keep in mind as well is if you're married, if you have a spouse, you want to remember that if you go from working 40 hours a week and not seeing them for 40 hours a week, that you will probably get to a point in time where you're gonna bug each other a little bit. So that's why it's very important to find those hobbies and find those things that you really enjoy to do. It's okay to spend time away from each other. This is actually going to be good for you, good for your relationship. Yes, you're probably gonna have some things that you like to do together, But it's okay to pick up a hobby or pick up a part-time job or start a small business to keep yourself busy and to keep yourself away from your spouse in times that you need to be away from your spouse, just to keep your sanity. At the end of the day, you want to make sure you're not doing anything to potentially jeopardize your relationship with your spouse. Retirement is not supposed to be a time where you're supposed to fight and argue. It's one of those times where you're supposed to enjoy it. You're supposed to relax. You're supposed to be able to find, like I said, your new purpose in life. Now, here are a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to retiring. One, it's going to take 1 to 2 years for you to adjust to the new lifestyle. There is going to be a lot of paperwork that you're going to have to complete for the financial stuff, and it is something that will be a little bit tedious, but it is important to keep in mind. It normally takes 1 to 2 years for people to adjust into the retirement lifestyle. It is also going to take a little bit of time for you to get used to how you're going to be funding your retirement. So when you start pulling money out of your savings, all of the different sources of income, it can get a little bit complicated, and it's important to note that for the first couple of years, it might confuse you and you might be frustrated and might not understand what's going on, but eventually you will get used to it in the same way that when you were working, when you were receiving your paycheck, you knew exactly what was happening. So then when you go to file your taxes, you are a little bit more aware of what's going on. Another thing to keep in mind is when you are retired, you are going to start receiving some tax credits. So talk to your accountant with regards to what tax credits you're going to be eligible for, especially if you're retired and you're around 65, there's going to be quite a few that are going to be there. Another thing to keep in mind, it's okay to be changing up what it is that you do in retirement. You could try out a lot of different things. If you don't like it, go on to the next thing. This is a time for you to explore and have a really good time. Some people will have things figured out a lot faster than others, and that's okay. Just like how early on in life you have to find your rhythm, it's the same thing in retirement. You have to find your rhythm. If you keep your mind active and you keep your body active, you're gonna be way better off than anybody who is not physically or not mentally active. So there you have it, guys. Those are a couple of things to really think about when it comes to retiring that's not financially based. It is important to note that every single person's retirement is going to look different, and what it is that you decide to do is up to you and up to you and your spouse if you are going to be doing it together. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like, share it with your friends and family. At the end of the day, these are some very important things to talk about that people don't necessarily talk about. It is very important to spread the knowledge with regards to this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Also, if there's a particular topic that you want me to cover in a future video, please leave those in the comments down below, and I will do my best to make a video on that topic in the future. As always, guys, stay safe, take care, and we'll see you guys in the next one.